Imagine for a second two completely different worlds. On one side, you have this hyper-industrial complex, stainless steel labs, people in white coats developing jet fuel, advanced car batteries, the real cutting edge.
And on the other side,
On the other, you've got a rural landscape, rich with the smell of drying herbs, where these ancient healing traditions have been passed down for centuries just by word of mouth.
that's the classic dichotomy, isn't it? The village versus the lab. Tradition versus, well, modernization. We usually think of them as total opposites.
Exactly. But today, we're doing a deep dive into a project that basically looks at that distinction and just says, that's nonsense. We're looking at a company called Niktabeni Indigenous Knowledge Systems, or NEX for short.
And its parent company, Emma Pro Holdings.
Right. And what grabbed me immediately is that they're not choosing a side. They are trying to fuse indigenous healing with some really serious, heavy-hitting industrial tech.
It is a fascinating case study. And when you really dig into the source material, you realize this isn't just some, cultural preservation project. It's a massive economic play.
Right.
They're trying to plug traditional African healing directly into global supply chains for things like sustainable aviation fuel and electric vehicles.
Which sounds absolutely insane when you first say it, but the logic, it actually holds up. Before we get to the jet fuel, though, let's just talk about the scale of the industry here, because I think a lot of people hear traditional medicine and picture a small roadside stall.
Right, they think it's niche, but the numbers tell a completely different story. We are looking at a trade in South Africa alone that is worth an estimated R2.9 billion a year.
2.9 billion. That is just a staggering amount of money.
And to put that in perspective for you, that's about 5.6% of the entire national health budget in South Africa. This is not a hobby. It's a foundational part of the healthcare system for millions.
And the report mentions something like 27 million consumers, right?
Correct. That's roughly half the population, depending on these remedies. And on the supply side, it employs at least 133,000 people. And here's the crucial part. The vast majority of those are rural women.
So it's a huge driver of grassroots economic stability.
It should be.
But, and this is the big but, in the report, there's this massive structural flaw. A huge amount of that potential value is just gone. It's evaporating.
It's the classic resource curse. It plagues so many sectors in Africa. The continent is incredibly rich in biodiversity. It holds about 8% of the world's commercialized medicinal plants, things like devil's claw, aloe.
So what happens? We dig it up, put it in a sack, and ship it off to Europe or Asia.
Precisely. We export the raw biomass for pennies on the dollar. Then, companies in Germany or China process it, turn it into supplements or cosmetics, package it beautifully, and sell it back to us at a huge premium.
So we're exporting the raw material and importing the finished product.
Right.
We are basically paying other people to manufacture our own heritage.
Exactly. And that is the mission of NICS. They want to reclaim that entire value chain, not just grow the plants, but own the cultivation, the agro-processing, the packaging, all of it. Keep the money in the community.
And to pull that off, to go from, harvesting herbs to industrial agro-processing, you need a very specific type of leader. You can't just be a suit, and you can't just be a healer.
You have to be both. And that is what makes the founder, Amabatho Nyerere, such a compelling figure. Her profile, it reads like a glitch in the matrix. It's two different people in one.
I was looking at her resume, and my jaw just hit the floor. On one hand, she is this corporate heavyweight. She has a BCom in informatics, a master's in future studies, and she was a master black belt practitioner at Accenture.
And for anyone who isn't deep in corporate lingo, that black belt isn't karate. It refers to Six Sigma.
A super rigorous methodology for process improvement.
Exactly. A master black belt is an expert in maximizing efficiency in these really complex systems.
So she's basically an engineer of business processes. She's worked with Telcom, the Rockefeller Foundation. She knows how the machine works.
But then you look at the timeline. Between 2013 and 2015, while all this is going on, she steps back and completes her traditional healer training.
That is the aha moment.
Yeah.
She isn't a corporate outsider trying to exploit traditional knowledge, and she isn't a traditional healer getting lost in the market. She's both.
She founded EmaPro and NICS in 2019 specifically to apply that Six Sigma discipline to the chaos of the informal medicine trade. She calls it professionalizing indigenous knowledge systems.
I love that phrase. Not just preserving tradition, but engineering it for the future. Building a corporate governance structure around the ancestors.
It's about standardization, quality control, scalability, and that brings us to the how. Because a vision is one thing, but you need an engine to drive it. And that engine seems to be something else entirely.
The green gold, industrial hemp.
A crop that is having a massive global renaissance right now.
Okay, we have to clear the air on this immediately. When we say hemp, we're not talking about getting high, right?
No, not at all. The source is very clear. Industrial hemp is a variety of cannabis sativa, but with almost no THC, the psychoactive compound. You could smoke a whole field of this and just get a headache. This is all about fiber, grain, and biomass.
Right. But as a crop? I mean, wow. The stats in the report are just mind-blowing. First off, it's one of the fastest-growing plants on Earth, up there with bamboo.
And humans have been using it for about 50,000 years. We've been spinning hemp into fiber for millennia. But what makes it so relevant today is the environmental data.
The CO2 absorption.
Yes, it absorbs between 8 to 15 tons of CO2 per hectare.
It's carbon vacuum cleaner.
It really is. And in a world obsessed with net zero, that allows for carbon credit revenue streams, which Nix is planning to use. You basically get paid just for growing it.
And the job creation. The report says 3 workers per hectare in South Africa.
That's a key metric. Many modern crops are so mechanized. One person in a giant harvester. But hemp, especially for high-quality fiber, is still labor-intensive enough to support a community.
So if the market is so good, the report says it was valued at around $5.5 billion US dollars in 2023. Why isn't everyone doing this?
Well, access is difficult. It's a regulated crop, and you need the right genetics. You can't just throw any old seeds in the ground.
And this is where the master black belt strategy comes back in. They're not just farming, they're building the infrastructure. I saw they have a subsidiary called PHIWE.
Correct. And PHIW is tackling the input problem. They're actually developing a seed bank for South Africa.
That's smart. You control the inputs.
You have to. They're importing specific seed varieties from Australia, France, Spain, strains that are stable and designed for different uses, whether it's textiles or fuel.
And what about the output side? Because growing it is one thing, but you have to sell it.
That offtake agreement. That is the golden ticket in farming. Knowing someone is contractually obligated to buy what you grow.
And Nix has that.
They do. PHIWE has secured an international offtake for 1,000 tons of hemp fiber a year from 2024 to 2028.
1,000 tons. That's huge.
But
That completely de-risks the whole operation. It gives them a financial floor to stand on.
precisely. The hemp provides the volume and the cash flow. But let's get back to the heart of the project. Traditional medicine, because Nix isn't just a hemp company.
Right, we talked about adding value. Instead of selling raw plants, they're making actual consumer products. I was looking at the list for the Mbabatho range, and it's so tangible.
It connects the farm directly to your bathroom cabinet. And look at the specific items. They have immune care herbal capsules. They have devil's claw supplements.
But then they pivot into beauty and skincare, which is just a massive market. There's an oxygenated night repair cream with rose water.
And a facial exfoliating scrub with apricot kernel.
And a detox steam. It makes it so real. You can just picture these bottles on a shelf in some high-end wellness store in London or Cape Town.
And notice the branding. They call it Indigenous knowledge systems. They're not hiding the source. They're making the heritage the brand identity. In a crowded market, authenticity is everything.
So they're taking grandma's remedy and putting it in a package that can compete with the big cosmetic brands.
And by doing that locally, they keep the profit. You capture the manufacturing margin, the branding margin, the retail margin, not just pennies for the raw plant.
Which comes back to Mbabatho's background.
Yeah.
That's the corporate experience, understanding packaging, distribution, compliance. She's bridging that gap.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the medicine, we've got the textiles from the hemp. But here is where it gets really, really interesting. This is the part of the report that made me just stop and reread. The frontier stuff, biofuel.
This is where we move from agriculture into industrial biotechnology.
They're talking about turning hemp into jet fuel. Seriously.
Essentially, yes. The process is called pyrolysis.
Okay, explain pyrolysis to me like I'm 5. Because that sounds like something from a sci-fi movie.
It's actually pretty simple in principle. You take the hemp biomass, the stalks, the leaves, the stuff you can't use for textiles, and you heat it to incredibly high temperatures. But, and this is the key, inside a chamber with 0 oxygen.
So it doesn't just burn.
Right. No oxygen means no fire. Instead, it thermally decomposes. It breaks down into gases and a bio-oil. That bio-oil can then be refined into different fuels.
And the target markets here are heavy hitters. Aviation and shipping.
Well, the aviation industry is under a global mandate to adopt sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF. They're desperate for non-fossil sources. Nix is positioning hemp as a primary feedstock for that.
But there was one detail in the